Reading from the Anatomy of Peace, which has been called the Bible of World Federalism by some people. In the middle of the 20th century, we are living in an era of absolute political feudalism in which the nation-states have assumed exactly the same roles as were assumed by the feudal barons of 1,000 years ago. There is nothing kings, emperors, or tyrants ever did to their subjects that nation-states are not doing today. This system of national feudalism has plunged the world into unprecedented barbarism and destroyed almost all individual rights and human liberties secured with so much toil and blood by our forefathers. Modern nation feudalism has erased, except in name, every moral doctrine of Christianity, unquote. Well, I wouldn't be one for defending the doctrines or practices of the Christian faith, but to focus on the main thrust of what Emery Reves was saying. Here he is talking just after the Second World War, so over 70 years ago. This is certainly one way of looking at it from a learned perspective, the sovereign nation-state system as a form of political feudalism. And here in the early 21st century, we still have leaders behaving like lordly masters over the peasantry. Still, it is national governments trampling on rights and liberties. It's so-called patriots, identitarians, nationalists, making the power grabs. Continuing with Emery Reves' words, there is not the slightest hope that we can change course into which we are rapidly being driven by the conflicting nation-states, so long as we recognize them as the supreme and final expression of the sovereignty of the people. At ever-increasing speed, we shall be hurled towards greater insecurity, greater destruction, greater hatred, greater barbarism, greater misery, until we resolve to destroy the political system of nation feudalism and establish a social order based on the sovereignty of the community as conceived by the founders of democracy and as it applies to the reality of today, unquote. The world of 2018 is one of extremes. Extreme poverty at one end, obscene wealth at the other. Peace flourishes in many parts, while other regions are plagued by conflict and tyranny. We're in the nuclear age, the space age, yet we're still ruled by the sovereign nation-state, let's call it what it is, war system. A system naturally sustained by hatred, paranoia, authoritarianism. Yeah, this is where we are. One more Emery Reves quote, interesting one this. Real patriotism, real love for one's own country, has no relationship whatsoever to the fetishism of the sovereign nation-states. Real patriotism can have but one single purpose: to protect one's own country, one's own people, from the devastation of war. As war is the direct result of the nation-state structure, and as modern aerial and mechanized warfare indiscriminately destroys women, children, cities and farms, the nation-state is enemy number one of patriotism. Unquote. I'm no patriot. I think it's safe to say Emery Reves considered himself one. I can imagine reading this last quote to a hardline, myopic Brexiteer, or a Donald Trump supporter, or even a Marine Le Pen fanboy, and maybe you would get a fellow human being looking at you like you were a fucking alien from a galaxy far away. Fetish is the right word, isn't it, to describe some folks, though. Excessive and irrational devotion to a flag.